Hello everyone and welcome to another video with me, 320 Sim Pilot, and today we're taking the fantastic PMDG 737-700 for a flight into Skiathos. Of course it had to be done. This is one of the more beautiful approaches. We have some nice Orbex scenery to use here, and it's something quite challenging, quite interesting, so should be a good use of this aircraft so we can try out its systems as we head into this short runway with an offset approach through some lovely scenery. I'm a real world Airbus pilot, but of course not a real world 737 pilot, so this will be I'm sure full of errors and mistakes, but it should be interesting for you to watch, and we'll see how we manage using this aircraft. It is after all just an airliner. Right, let's get started. We're going to make the approach. It'll be the NDB onto 01 and we'll be starting off at the hold. I'll explain the approach first and then we'll get flying. So this is a good fun approach. We're currently in the hold at the Sierra Kilo Papa, which is on the island next to Skiathos. From here, and I can show you on the charts, so we are in this hold right now here. Just heading downwind. We are going to leave the VOR, the Skiathos VOR, on the 203 radial at 4,000 feet. At 3 miles away, we can descend down to 2,000 feet. We'll fly at 2,000 feet to 10 miles, at which point we'll make a right turn with a maximum speed of 185 knots, round 008 inbound towards the Skiathos Sierra Kilo Charlie NDB. So let's get this set up. First of all, in the box, all we can have is quite limited. We have NDM 01 as the approach. Obviously we're landing on 01, the star that are irrelevant now as we're already on the approach. It did have a VIA of the Sierra Kilo Papa, which is of course the VOR we are using here. So if we go to the legs that gives us, we get Sierra Kilo Papa and then FQ01 and runway 01. FQ01 is this point over here. However, if we look at the plan view, you'll see that it doesn't quite get us from Sierra Kilo Papa to the FQ01. We need to do that ourselves. So we're going to fly outbound from the Sierra Kilo Papa VOR by manually tuning it. So we need to tune the VOR of Sierra Kilo Papa. So I'm going to put 113.4 as the nav1 frequency. I'll also put it in box number 2 as a backup. We also need the NDB, of course, Sierra Kilo Charlie 326, which goes down here. 3, 2, 6, and active. Now we need a way to see those things. Oh, we should have our transponder on as well. That would help. So we need a way to see those things. So what I'm going to do is have the needle set to VOR1, but ADF2 is an op. So what we're actually going to do is set the first needle to ADF1 and have VOR2. So I've got ADF1 and VOR2. So now if I bring this back to the map page, I get the blue NDB pointing at the Sierra Kilo Charlie NDB, I get the green Sierra Kilo Papa. Great. We can, of course, and what I'm going to use for the outbound is go to my VOR page, and if I press center, I get the full rose style VOR. So this is the easiest way to track outbound, and what I'll do is on the FO side, I'll leave up the ND. So the plan is we'll fly outbound, make our turn, and incept this inbound towards the NDB. The crucial parts here are we need to descend to 2,000 feet after 3 miles outbound. 10 miles we make our turn, and after we've done our turn we descend to 1,600 feet to be fully configured at the FQ01, which we do have shown on the screen. At FQ01 I'm going to start a 3-degree descent, which at final approach speed today, let's go and check what that is. So we go to initial reference, approach reference. I'm going to land flat 40, so I'm going to put 40 in the window, speed of 123, which gives us about just over 600 feet per minute vertical speed. Good. I'm going for auto brakes 3 because I want to stop on the runway. It is a short runway. This is a beautiful approach, so we'll hopefully have a replay out of it at the end. So what we'll have to do is fly one more hold and then we'll head outbound. So what I'm going to do is we're 3 miles from the VOR, about to head outbound. So we are just, if I show you on the chart here, I'm going to need to set, or it'd be easier if I set that initial outbound course over here. So I'm going to put in the course of let's check what it is, 203. So if I have 203 set as my course, and you can actually click and drag, which makes it a bit quicker. 203, which will be our turn onto the outbound. Good, we're now 1.5 miles away. I've slowed back to 180 knots to give us a bit of a chance to not overshoot it too much. That's the master caution for an off-scheduled descent, just because the way I've set up this flight. 1 mile to go now, so I'm going to put the heading bug round for a bit of an intercept. I put it into heading select mode, of course. because there is no LNAV for me to follow for this part of the approach. So we're just arriving overhead the VOR now. It's just beneath us. We look outside. It's actually down on this island here. So it's interesting to have an approach from an island. I think that is the VOR there. So no doubt we've gone through slightly, so let's bring the heading round and intercept slightly from the other side. Good. Right, once we are 3 miles outbound, so we're just here intercepting this outbound. Once we're 3 miles away, I'm going to descend down to 2,000 feet. Light wind, so I can just keep using heading. It's going to be quite simple. Don't need too big of an intercept because, of course, we're very close to the VOR, only 2 miles away at the moment. I'm going to take this opportunity to slow down, so let's come back to 160 knots. Give ourselves more time. We're at flap 1, but we're going to need more flaps, so I'm going to go to flap 5 now. Which I think is one more stage. There's flap 5. And we can keep flap 5 down to just above 150 knots. So that works out for us nicely. There we are, now arriving on our outbound, so let's bring the heading bug back round. 3 miles away, so we can descend to 2,000 feet as per the chart. 2,000 feet in the window, vertical speed. And I'm going to do 800 feet per minute initially. Just going to keep updating that heading to make sure we track out. And if we go to the chart, we're flying now till 10 miles, so we've got another 5 miles to go, and then we'll make our right turn, max 185 knots. Good news, we're already below that. Once we make the turn, we're going to descend, or once we pass the 10 miles, we'll descend down to 1,600 feet, fully configure, arriving at FQ01. Must remember to update our inbound course to 008, which will be flown based on this blue needle, the NDB. I'm going to slightly reduce that rate of descent, so we're making good time on the speeds. So the island that we're landing on, the runway is just over here. Jumping back into the flight deck then, we're about to reach 10 mile point. We're at 2,700 feet, so we have 1,000 feet to lose roughly down to our final altitude of 1,600 feet. So 1,000 feet to lose, we've got plenty of room to do that. 9.6, so remember we're going to turn around and intercept the 008. So I'm just going to put in a course. Not that it's going to be much use to us. Roughly 008, and we need to start the turn. So heading now. So we want to intercept 008 based on that blue needle. So I'm going to put in something to the left of it. So let's start off with something like 350. Maybe 340, as you can see here. So there's the blue needle I'm following. Let me just set the course to 008. But we're not using that VOR anymore. So I need this blue needle to line up with this course bar effectively. The blue one is what's important now. So it's off to the left, so I need to keep aiming left of it. Which it hasn't done. Not sure why. Oh yeah, sorry, that is doing. Right, good. So it shows you amazing how the small differences in the display changes your impression of what's going on. So now we're going to go down to 1,600 feet and slow down. So I'm going to put 600 feet in the window with the vertical speed. Nice and gently, and let's slow back now towards our VREF. So I put in 143 and I put out the next stage of flaps to 10. Before we put out flap 15, we'll put the gear down. Otherwise we get a gear warning horn. So you can see now that blue needle is almost in line because it's off to the left of where we want it to be. So we have to go further left as we're flying towards it. So now I'm going to bring the heading bug round and we'll intercept that 008. We are of course heading towards the FQ01 point, 1,600 feet in here. So I wonder what would happen if I armed approach now? Or LNAV? No, it's not happy. Discontinuity. Good. We won't do that then. So we are now on the inbounds. We'll keep flying it manually. Let's go gear down. Flaps to 15. Still pointing right in, and FQ01 is arriving now, which is we're just passing over it on here, 1,600 feet. So we're going to enter our vertical speed. We're doing 140 knots, so it's going to be somewhere around 700 feet per minute at the moment. Now it's going to keep trying to capture, so I'm going to wind the altitude up and out of the way, and then we can have our vertical speed 700s, Down it goes. We're going to come back to 123 knots. Now we're probably a little bit high, so let's put in 123. Gear is down. Flaps to 30. And now we need to be able to start looking out the window. There's the runway, so let's, I think we're a little bit high. I'm going to go to 900 feet per minute. Flaps to 40. We're going to arm the ground spoilers. And there we go. So, lined up. It is time, oh not lined up, sorry, we need to go and line up. So I'm going to take the autopilot off. Flight directors off. Auto thrust off. Oh, that was a bit much. Now we're going to head over to the runway, taking about 50% on final approach. There's 1000, so we are stable and we are visual. .600 feet per minute. Remembering any power changes results in a trim change. So as I've added power there, I have to trim the nose down a bit. Light winds, so just got to account for the momentum of the aircraft as we line up. There is the runway.
500.
A little bit of steam coming on. Quite hard to spot the pappies, but it often is on sunny airports like this.
400.
But we're doing about 800 feet per minute, a little bit high.
300. 200.
Absolutely blinded by the sun out there.
100. 50. 40. 30. 20.
Idle.
10.
Nose up for the bump in the runway. Reverses out. Ground spoilers deployed. Auto brake taking effect. Bring those reverses back to idle. Taking over with manual brakes. Welcome to Skiathos. So that's all for today's video. I hope it's been enjoyable. It's just a bit of fun. This is quite a fun approach to do. I enjoy it certainly, and it's nice to try out the different aircraft on it, just to get a sense of how they handle, and especially get a bit of hand flying at the end there. So just taxiing back to gate now. As you can see, the if you rev up the engines, you get a nice wobbly effect on the tailplane, which is very accurate. You do see that on aircraft as they take off, so that's a nice detail put in there by PMDG, of course. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. There'll be plenty more videos and live streams coming to the channel soon, so do please subscribe if you'd like to see more. We'll see you again soon. Bye bye.